Hello everyone, and welcome to the latest Minty Minutes, and apologies for my voice. I have a little bit of a cold, because that's just how my life has been in January. But either way, welcome to the next episode of Minty Minutes. This is episode number 3, if you're keeping count. And this is basically just this little show, this little podcast kind of a thing, that I come on here and just talk about some things that I have been watching or doing in the past month that I really don't want to make videos on, or it's just a little past time to make videos on. And this is going to be a short one. This is going to be a bit of a shorter episode. Because I'll be honest, in January, didn't watch that much. Did not watch that much stuff. There's a lot of shows that I finished watching, there's like 2 that I finished watching in January, but honestly, coming off of my movie goal from the end of the year last year, and just like some work stress and just a little bit of like some mental burnout from just life in general, I really didn't do that much in January. Plus, like, my yearly goals for this coming year are a bit different in terms of just entertainment, where I'm going to be playing a bit more video games. I'm going to try to get more in touch with the video game side of my life. Also, I'm going to probably actually try and like figure out what my backlog is for gaming and probably movies as well, and figure that out. But either way, so this episode is going to be a bit of a shorter one. I'm only going to talk about like 4 things in total. 2 of them being actual shows, the other 2 being maybe some video game stuff / just life stuff in general. So let's just get into it, shall we? So the first thing I want to talk about is Echo. I actually finished watching Echo near the beginning of the month, actually. I was watching it one episode a day, just to kind of like experience it a little better, experience it a little more. And Echo is really good. I know there's a lot of discourse about Echo, about it not being that good, or not being that, like, being very MCU-ish or whatever, and not really being like the Netflix series. And yeah, it was never going to be like the Netflix series, because that was a full lightning in a bottle situation that they are not going to be able to replicate again until they do Daredevil, and Daredevil had better come out in a different way, which is a whole thing, because like Daredevil at this point has had to be not completely scrapped, but like half it had to be completely scrapped, and they had to go back and reshoot almost all of it once the studio realized, or once Marvel realized, like, wait a minute, you're making this like comedy? What are you doing? So at least now, according to like some set photos, which I won't talk about here because I don't want to necessarily spoil things from Daredevil before the show even comes out, because of set photos, but like at least according to the set photos, it's looking a lot better. Let's just say that it's looking a lot better. But Echo was supposed to be this new thing called a Marvel Spotlight, which is what they're doing, where Marvel Spotlight is going to be more of a serious type of content, a little bit more like Marvel Knights-esque, if you want to say. Something kind of like the Netflix series. I think they're actually rebranding the Netflix ones as Marvel Spotlights as well, where they're going to be focusing on a singular character, a singular story, and just going into that story. And Echo was one of them. Of course, Echo is kind of like a soft sequel to the Hawkeye series, because Echo was introduced in Hawkeye, along with the returning of Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin, and honestly, the integration of the Netflix stuff into the MCU, which, according to the people who worked on the show, is actually a full thing now. Like, the Netflix series are just part of the MCU. If you go on Disney Plus and you look at the MCU timeline, they're actually just in there. They're in there, and I find it funny, like, where they take place, but also I kind of forgot when those shows came out, and I'm like, oh yeah, those would take place in like 2015, wouldn't they? Because that's when they came out. The whole era of the Netflix Marvel stuff is really intriguing, because like I was so into it when it first came out, and then Defenders came out, and it wasn't necessarily that good or that interesting, and sadly, and I was like, oh, okay, well, there went my interest for it all. And then of course they started canceling everything, because at that point the MCU had like fully taken off, and Marvel TV and Marvel movies had their own little falling out. But yeah, so Echo is a really interesting series for me, and it's a good series, I will say. It's a really good series. I really enjoyed this series a lot. I thought it was a little short, only being 5 episodes, but also the 5 episodes didn't necessarily hinder it. The only thing that really hindered the show a bit was just the episode length, and that's just an issue with Disney at this point, and an issue with the MCU. But honestly, an issue with Disney, because like most Disney Plus series at this point are just weird lengths. You can see this a lot with the Star Wars series, where like you'll have an episode of Star Wars like Mandalorian that'll be like, hey, this is an hour-long episode. It's like, okay, cool. And the next episode will be like, hey, this episode is 20 minutes. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, you have a streaming service, like, you can make these episodes an hour long. And not to say, like, you know, make all the episodes like an hour long and put some filler in there, but like, actually, like, put some stuff in the episodes. And the good thing about Echo, even though the episodes were varying length between like 35 minutes and like 40, the good thing is like the pacing of the show was really good. It has some really good pacing to it, and all the characters were so well done. I loved Alakwa Cox as Maya Lopez. I thought she just came in and just made this character like great. She just made this character a definite like standout. Given the fact that Echo as a character isn't like one of the top level people in Marvel. And that's the funny thing about Marvel now, is like most of the characters in Marvel aren't necessarily top level characters in Marvel, but because of the MCU, any of them kind of feel like they could be. I mean, that's how the MCU started. The MCU started with Iron Man, where Iron Man was basically a C-list character, and he's now top of the line A-list. So honestly, Echo kind of feels the same way now. Maybe not necessarily like an A-list character, but she feels kind of the same way, where it's like, yeah, no, I would love to see her interact with Daredevil again. I would love to see her interact with Hawkeye. I would love to see her interact with street level characters. And that's the coolest thing, is like, this is a street level show. Yes, they incorporate some superpowers, some like magical stuff in there, which Echo doesn't have in the comics, but I'm like, you know what, this is fine. Like, this works. They explain it well enough, and they incorporate it into her character for the show, and I'm like, yeah, this works. This works for me. Because Echo as a character, or Maya Lopez as a character, is basically just a deaf character that, you know, talks in sign language and is just a super assassin. Also, I believe in the comics also has a one leg and then a prosthetic leg as well, because of an accident. I'm pretty sure she's like that in the comics as well. And Alakwa Cox actually is like that, which is really cool. So they actually cast somebody who fits the fits the description of Echo really well, and she just kills it. She absolutely just kills this role. Everything she does is great. I love all of her performances as Maya, and you can feel the emotion that's in Maya, and just like all the heartbreak, the distrust, the lashing out in her own ways at the people that she thought were her like parental figures, mainly Kingpin. You can see like the darkness in her, where like she's not necessarily a hero. She is in fact an anti-hero, which is such a unfortunate term. Just anti-hero in general is just such a bad term, but you know, if you're not a hero, then you're a villain, kind of a thing. But anti-hero really works here, sadly. But like, she's just so good as this role, and like Alakwa Cox just sells it so well. But what really helps her is basically the entire supporting cast. The entire supporting cast of this show just heightens how good Alakwa Cox is as Maya, because there are actually some times in the first like 3 episodes when like Maya is the least interesting thing happening in the show, because the show takes place not in New York. It takes place in let me look up where the show takes place real quick, just to make sure I'm, you know, Tomahawk. She takes place in Tomahawk, Oklahoma. So she goes back to her hometown of Tomahawk, and she's like meeting up with her like actual family, who they, you know, kind of abandoned her after some events. We also get to see in the very first episode what happens to her mom. We get to see, like, you know, her dad again before he gets killed by Hawkeye. The first episode acts as like a really good catch-up episode if you didn't watch Hawkeye, which you just go watch Hawkeye. It's pretty good. All things good, it's pretty good. So it acts as like a catch-up episode if you didn't watch Hawkeye, and it's a pretty good episode. Also, like, the whole opening scene just kind of pulls you in, because it shows you a creation myth from the Choctaw, which is a really interesting thing, because they did change Maya from the comics to a Choctaw Native American, which is fine. I didn't really see any necessarily reason why they did that, other than just incorporating the mythology of it, which is cool. Like, I mean, if that's the case, then that's cool. but when, you know, whatever there. But yeah, this opens up with like this really awesome like creation myth, creation story for the Choctaw, and like how they came to be, and then that also links into her whole ancestry and how she's gaining her powers and seeing the echoes of her ancestors, which is how she gets the name Echo. I was like, okay, I see what you're doing there. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. The way I kind of thought about it as well, in a little bit, is from watching Avatar, it kind of felt like the whole ancestor thing was like an Avatar power, and she was like, oh no, I'm connecting with my previous avatars. Like, okay, sure enough, that works. But either way, so yeah, this show's good. But yeah, the supporting cast is so great. Tantu Cardinal as Chula is a like standout, because Chula is one of those incredibly interesting characters, where she's like the elder, like, grandmother of the town, of the people, but like she always felt like she has something else going on, like behind what she's doing. And like her whole family is just like a crime family. She's like, I don't want to be part of this crime family. But like, there was actually a part in there where I'm like, wait a minute, she actually like the full leader of the crime family? And she's not. She's not. She's just like, she just doesn't want to be part of it, and she knows that her family are part of it, and she just doesn't want to be. So she like resents Maya for all that as well. Chasky Spencer as Henry Black Crow Lopes is phenomenal. Dude owns a roller ring and is part of all the crime stuff, but he's just like, man, I just want the best for all of you. I'm trying to keep everything out of this town. I don't want anything happening here. He's great. Graham Greene, the amazing Graham Greene. If you have anything with Native Americans in it, you just have Graham Greene. He just is. He's just in everything that needs some type of Native American, like, elder, like, grandpa figure. And he's awesome. I love Graham Greene. He's in everything. However, I think the standout of the Tomahawk crew is Cody Lightning as Biscuits. Biscuits is great. He's like Maya's like stepbrother, half brother, cousin, something. I forgot exactly what his relation to Maya is, but he's part of the family. Man, Biscuits is great, because like Biscuits is the most normal guy. He's like, yeah, I'm just here, you know. I'm here to support y'all. Like, you know, I'll go out and I'll take the truck for you, Maya, and I'll go help you. Like, rob this train, but you're not robbing it. But I'm gonna get in trouble for it. But you know, I'll do it. He's just like the best. Him and his dog as well, just like the best. Like, I love Biscuits. Everything with Biscuits was just funny, because like Biscuits is the most real character in the whole thing. It's like, yeah, no, I know somebody like a Biscuits. Like, we all know somebody like Biscuits. Also, his name is Biscuits. That's even funnier. So like, he's great. I love him, and he gets a moment at the end of the finale as well, which is phenomenal. And then of course we gotta talk about the big one. We gotta talk about the big boy, the big guy, Vinny D, Vincent D'Onofrio, returning as Kingpin. One of the best castings in the entirety of Marvel, and I guess now I can say the MCU, because I guess it is part of the MCU. Kingpin is phenomenal. Kingpin is absolutely phenomenal. They make references to some stuff from Daredevil. They changed some of the iconography. Not iconography. They changed some of like the settings, some of the items or whatever that are like important to the backstory from Daredevil and from the Netflix series, but they kept the connotation of it. They kept an iconography, I guess, the best way to put it. So like, it's a weird thing. It's a weird like production thing of like, why would you change the hammer? Why would you change the room? But it's, I don't know, blame multiverse, I guess. Just blame the multiverse or whatever. But yes, but anyway, Vinny D back as Kingpin was one of the highlights of the show. I kind of wish Kingpin got a little more to do, just a little bit more to do. But man, whenever he is on screen, you just feel that presence, and you're like, yeah, no, Kingpin's back. Yeah, this is Kingpin. And we get to see that like rage and that violence every so often. Not a lot. We get to see just enough of it, and it is phenomenal. Again, just seeing this character back, and like, according to like reports or whatever, they're trying to make Kingpin the street level Thanos, which is like, yeah, no, that's what he is. He is the street level Thanos. So it's like, with all like the street level characters, they're gonna try and like build up to deal with him. And based on how the show ends with the post-credit scene, it's like, yeah, no, they're fully setting up Daredevil, and they're fully setting up stuff in the future. which is phenomenal. Like, I love everything they're doing with that, and I am very excited, very, very excited to see Daredevil when it comes out. Like, I think next year is when it comes out. Very excited about that. I'm very excited to see Kingpin in the future, and also wondering as well, it's like, at some point, are we going to actually see, like, Spider-Man interact with Kingpin? Because, like, Kingpin started out as a Spider-Man villain. So, like, I'm just wondering, are we going to see, like, quippy Tom Holland interact with the, like, very serious Vincent D'Onofrio? Like, that's going to be kind of interesting, but that's just Marvel for you. That's like peak Marvel right there. But yeah, in the end, Echo was a good series. Echo was a solid series. You can get through it literally in a day because of how weirdly lengthy the episodes are. There's only 5 episodes as well. And by the end of it, like, I really wanted to see more of Maya. I really want to see more of Echo. I want to see more of what she does. I want to see her interact with the street level characters. And if they are bringing back the Defenders from Netflix, if they are bringing back Kristen Ritter and, you know, all of them, then I want to see her interact with them. I want to see her with the Defenders fighting against Kingpin and the street level villains. Like, I would love to see that. If they do make a second season of this, which I don't know if they're going to be doing that with the Marvel Spotlights, if there's going to be like one and done kind of things, but like if they do a second season, I would love to see her interact with like some more possible like small town street level villains from like her past. That'd be cool. But either way, this show was great. like this show was just phenomenal. It was maybe not phenomenal was the right word, but it was fun. It was an incredibly fun show, especially for the MCU being in this weird state right now where like no one's really sure what's going on with the MCU. Hell, I'm pretty sure Disney and Marvel don't even know what's going on with the MCU right now because of like the performances from the previous year and some of the critical reception from the previous year. And you guys already know I already like the Marvels. Like I liked the Marvels, but even I can say, someone who liked that movie, that it was kind of what the MCU needed, but also not what the MCU needed. And also like all the reshoots are doing for all the other movies, the fact that this year we're only getting 2 things from the MCU at all. We're getting Echo and we're getting Deadpool 3, which is 2 of the weirdest things to say that we're getting in the MCU this year. But so MCU's in a weird spot, but in full, like as a Disney Plus series, I guess also as a Hulu series, because it released on both at the same time. As a Disney Plus Hulu series, like this was good. Like this was a good show, and like the hate for it, I don't necessarily understand. But that's also just a thing with me anyway, where it's like I just like things, I just enjoy things. And it was fun. It was a good show. I highly recommend going watching it. Again, you can watch it in like a day. And it's a good refresher for the MCU. It's just a good like refreshing thing to watch. And also you get to see Kingpin. And Kingpin's great all the time, always, because he's Kingpin. He's just wonderful. Also, need to mention this as well. The opening and the credits used the song "Burnin'" from the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. Great song, phenomenal song, weird music video, but great song. Just want to mention that as well. So the next thing I want to talk about, the only other show that I actually finished watching in January, which I started watching in December when it came out. I actually had mentioned this. Actually, I might have started watching it before December because it came out, I think, a little before December. But either way, I mentioned this in a community post beforehand when I was talking about Godzilla -1. But I finished watching Monarch Legacy of Monsters. This show was everything I had been wanting from the legendary Monsterverse. Just like legitimately everything. Having the double shot last year of watching Skull Island and this really made me hype for the Monsterverse and for what they are possibly doing with it. And I love Monarch Legacy of Monsters. Like I said, this show was literally everything I had been wanting for the Monsterverse. And what that was that I was wanting was literally just some background and some backstory on Monarch. And it's like, please, can we just have some explanation on Monarch? But can we also just see some monsters? And Apple TV did not shy on the budget for this show with showing us monsters. We see monsters in like every episode of this show, and they all look phenomenal. Like they all look so good. And I know that the show is not about the monsters, it's about the human element. And you know what? The human element, fine. It is fine. And that's one of the funniest things about kaiju films, is like, people just want to see the monsters fighting, and you know what? We get that. We don't really get to see monsters fighting, but we get to see the monsters, and that's all we really need. But the human element is great, for the most part. It's like half great, half, okay, this will be better. And the whole show is just kind of talking and explaining Monarch as an organization, and them going through this weird transitional period after G-Day, after Godzilla 2014, after G-Day, and like, what are they here for? What are they standing for? And the show takes place in multiple time periods, where we get to see not the formation of Monarch, we can see basically the funding of Monarch, where Monarch became the organization that it is in like the 1950s, 1960s, with Wyatt Russell playing Lee Shaw, with Mari Yamamoto playing Dr. Keiko Miria, and with Anders Holm playing young Bill Randa. Bill Randa, obviously from Skull Island, played by John Goodman. That's his name. How did I forget John Goodman's name? But yeah, following a young Bill Randa and a young Lee Shaw and a young Dr. Keiko, as they basically found quote-unquote Monarch, and go start trying to find some monsters and try to and just like tell the world like, yeah, no, monsters exist, we need to like study them before bad things happen. And we get to see like the Bikini Atoll incident with Godzilla, which is referenced in Legendary Monsterverse, and they're referenced also in like every piece of Godzilla media as like the origin of Godzilla, which is cool. We get to see that. They actually go full force with it, and they explain the Hollow Earth stuff back in like the 50s and 60s, and then in modern day, which is like, oh, there we go, there it is, bringing in stuff from Godzilla versus Kong. The show also bridges the gap between 2014 King of the Monsters and Godzilla vs. Kong, and explains stuff. Like in Godzilla vs. Kong, we get obviously Mechagodzilla, we get Apex Technologies, and they just kind of come out of the blue where it's like, oh yeah, Apex exists now. Well, we get the origin of Apex in the show, where it's this other company that just works, that they partnered at one point with Monarch, but after that they're like, yeah, now we're doing our own thing, and we get the origin of them. We get to hear, or at least hear, the name of the guy who owns the company, which we see in Godzilla vs. Kong, which is really cool. But yeah, so basically the show takes place in multiple time periods. I'm all over the place with them. It takes place at different time periods. We get to see the origins of Monarch with Lee, with Keiko, and with Bill Randa, as they are dealing with like the military, dealing with like government, dealing with trying to figure out how do we prove that these things exist to the government without telling them they fully exist, because if we tell them they fully exist, then they're just going to send the full force of the military after them and just try to kill them, because they look at them as threats, and we're like, no, we're scientists, we want to study them, we want to try and coexist with them. And it leads to a lot of like tension, a lot of everything. There's also like a very subtle like love triangle there as well between Lee and Keiko and Bill, where it's like you can tell that like Lee loves Keiko, but just like can't get over like his military like pride, or like his duty to protect her, to tell her that. And then Bill is just kind of like just free spirit, is like doing his stuff, and Keiko really appreciates that, and it's a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of really interesting like character dynamics there. But that's only half of the show. The other half of the show is the part that's like it gives and takes a little bit, the best way to put it. The other part of the show is the stuff that takes place in the quote-unquote modern day, in 2015, a year after G-Day, where we follow Kate, Kentaro, May, and the Monarch people as well, of like Tim, Duval, Natalia, where we get the modern day stuff. And okay, so basically the modern day stuff is fine. It ebbs and flows on quality and how good it is. And the main three characters of Kate, Kentaro, and May are not the best 100% of the time. They are three very intriguing characters that at points are really, really good. They are really good. They have a lot of really great motivations behind them. They feel like humans. They feel like real people. And then the other half of the time, they are just like whining children. It's like, why are you complaining this much when you're the ones who went on this journey? Because the whole idea is that Kate and Kentaru find out that they're siblings because their dad had two families that he was basically keeping from the other one. Both one of them living in San Francisco during G-Day, the other one living in Japan, and he also worked for Monarch because of course he did. And it's like, okay, this dude just had two families. Okay, and like you can kind of think or can kind of expect like, okay, the reason why he did that is like keep a low profile, whatever, for the Monarch stuff he was doing, but they never explained that. All we really get is like, yeah, no, this dude just had two families and like he just never told anyone. He's just kind of like a shitty dad. And it's like, oh, okay. And then everyone thought he died too. He like faked his death so he can like keep doing his monster research. And it's like, what is going on with you? So everything with their dad is weird. It's just weird. But everything with Kate, Kentaru, and May is it also devolves into a weird love triangle as well. Whereas like it didn't really need to be, but it is. But yeah, all three of these characters are just kind of unlikable in their own way. And the thing is about characters like that, is like you can have a character be unlikable and still be good. It's just they have to be written well. And luckily enough, all three of the characters do pull it out at the end and are enjoyable enough by the end when there is other stuff happening and they're all now fully involved with what is going on in the world and with the monsters and with Monarch and Apex and everything. Like they once they get fully invested in it, once they get fully involved with it, once they get over their bullshit, basically, they are enjoyable characters. They are enjoyable characters, but man, it takes some work. It's like one episode they're like, okay, they're all on board. The next episode, like, okay, why are any of you here? Like, why are any of you here? Weirdly, the funniest one is honestly Kate, because Kate in the first like 3 episodes is so unlikable. And then by like episode 4, when she realizes what's happening, she's like, okay, no, she's actually the most like level-headed one of anyone here. She's like, no, we have a job to do. We're here to find our dad. And just by happen, there's a lot of other bullshit going on that we need to deal with. And it's like, you know what, Kate, I agree. There's a lot of other bullshit going on here. So yeah, so she's cool. The other thing that goes on as well, that's the cool thing about the show, is they also partner with Lee Shaw, an adult Lee Shaw, played by Kurt Russell. So they had a whole thing where Kurt Russell's playing the modern day Lee Shaw, and then they had his son Wyatt play the young version of the character, which is something that I haven't seen much in any show or movie, that both of them kind of agree is like, yeah, this is something that people should do more because it just makes sense. Where you just have an actual actor's son play the younger version of that character, which is like, that's cool. That's really cool. And Lee's whole deal is he's trying to still fulfill his job of protecting the world, because he is a soldier still. And there's a lot of stuff that goes on with him and Monarch, and I'm not really going to fully spoil everything here with that, because there is some really cool stuff there with everything going on with him. But his whole deal is like, yeah, no, monsters exist. The world knows about them at this point. Monarch knows about them at this point. I'm just trying to show that Monarch is a shitty organization that isn't doing anything, so I'm doing stuff for them. And it's like, that makes sense, dude. That makes full sense given your background. And the best part is we get to see his background, because we get to see it in, like, as it goes throughout time and what happens with him and Kiku and Bill. And it's great. It's awesome, because, like, yeah, no, he makes sense. Everything he's saying makes sense. And then we get the Monarch people. Mainly we get Tim, Duval, and Natalia. Tim played by Joe Tippett, Duval played by Elise Lawisky, and then Natalia played by Marelli Taylor. All three of them are great in their own ways. Tim, the best one though. Tim is just a dude. He's just a guy. He is like the modern day Bill Randa, where he's like, no, monsters exist. We are here at Monarch because we are scientists. We are trying to study them. and we need to do something about this. We need to, like, we know where they are. We know how to get to them. We know what's happening. We need to do something so we can prevent another G-Day from happening, from another Godzilla insurge from happening. Clearly they didn't, because King of the Monsters happens and then the world gets screwed. But either way, so he's great. He is wonderful in the whole series. Like, he's a little iffy at the beginning, because like him and Duval are, like, Monarch are basically bad guys throughout most of the show until we get the explanation of like what they're doing, and then Tim just becomes like the dude. He's like, yeah, this is the guy. Like, you know, Tim is our dude here, and he's awesome. And then Duval is just basically this like badass, like, kind of bodyguard assassin person. She's cool. She's really cool. She does have some moments. And then Natalia the same way. Natalia is the head of Monarch, and she's just like this kind of hard ass that's like the head of Monarch. She's like, no, we got an organization to run. Like, we can't just keep going and doing stuff like, you know, you want to do, Tim. Like, we have obligations we have to fulfill. And it's like, yes, I understand we can't have a G-Day happen, but at the same time, like, we can't just go chasing these like random readings that you're finding. So like she's an interesting, unique character, and she is cool because she's like, I have to be the government face of this organization here, so we gotta like do shit, which is cool. So there's a really interesting dynamic there. But yeah, the whole modern day stuff is interesting for what they're trying to do. But the whole time I was watching this series, I was like, cool, let's just see some monsters, which we do. Luckily enough, we see monsters basically in every episode, and I love that. And I'm just kind of waiting for all of the flashback stuff, all the past stuff with Young Lee and Kiko and Bill, to see what happens with them. And there's some great stuff that happens with them. Like, everything with them is amazing. Like, we get introductions of characters that we grow to love in the legendary monsters. Like, we get to see a young Serizawa. That's awesome to see Serizawa. We get to see Godzilla. We get to see actual Godzilla in like 3 or 4 episodes, and it's Godzilla, and it's like, he's like, Godzilla's great. But even like, we get to see like a young Bill Randa, which was played by John Goodman in Skull Island. The show starts off with John Goodman. The show starts off with him, and it's like, wow, okay, we get to see this. And the best part is, like, I don't exactly know when the opening takes place with John Goodman. I don't exactly know. I've tried to figure out a timeline with this, and it's a little complicated, but you know, that's just how the MonsterVerse works. A little complicated for timeline. But yeah, this show was just fun. It's a really fun show. It is a bit, it's a bit annoying with, again, like with most kaiju movies. It's a bit annoying with the human element sometimes, but luckily the past stuff with Wyatt Russell and Anders Holmes and Mari Yamamoto really carry the show. And luckily, like, you know, the modern day cast, which I forgot to even say their names, Anna Sawai as Kate Randa, Ren Watanabe as Kentaro, and then Kiersey Clemens as May. They're all good in what they're doing. It's just their characters are really wishy-washy depending on the episode, but they do get there at the end. And man, the ending of the show, I so hope we're getting a season 2 of this, because I want to see more of how they bridge the gap between the shows, or between the movies. And man, I want them to bring these characters into the movies as well, which I don't know if they're ever going to, but really want to. And the even cooler thing about this show being a prequel technically to the whole MonsterVerse is like, you can watch this and then see stuff that happens in like Godzilla 2014, and it kind of hits a little harder. Like King of the Monsters specifically, like, it hits a little harder. Godzilla vs. Kong, and like, oh, okay, this makes more sense now. It just kind of like explains some more stuff. There are a few things though that are just like, okay, this kind of doesn't make any sense now anymore given the context of Monarch, but you know, whatever. That's just what happens when you create a show after you create a series, and you're like, okay, that's a prequel. We didn't really plan this initially, so it's a little stuff that's like kind of out of whack here. It's fine. It happens. You know, it happens. Especially with King of the Monsters, but like, there's a lot of stuff happening in King of the Monsters anyway, so it's like, it's fine. It's fine. But this show's fun. It's a good show. If you have Apple TV, watch it. I would definitely say just watch it, because it is a solid show. And unlike other streaming services, the episodes here actually make sense. The length of the episodes actually makes sense. They're between like 45 and 60 minutes like every time. I think there's like one episode that's like maybe 36 minutes, but it's like a shorter episode anyway, so it's like, okay, that's fine. But like everything else is like 45 to 60 minutes. Like, hell yeah, these are some good episode lengths for these things. And it's a good show. It is a good show. It is a fun show. That's the thing. It is a very fun show. And the way they ended sets up perfectly for the future. Sets up perfectly for bridging the gap between 2014 and King of the Monsters and Godzilla vs. Kong and the Skull Island, which is even cooler. Like, that's the cool thing about this show. It's like it connects the tissue between everything we've seen from the Monsterverse, except for the Skull Island animated series. And I am still here, as you all know from watching my reaction series of that show, is that we need a season 2 of that show. We cannot leave off on that cliffhanger from the first season. We need a season 2, and I really want to see those characters make the jump to live action. I want to see those characters interact with the rest of the Monarch people. I want to see them do stuff. Or, even better, have the live action people start voice acting some people in the series. I just want to see season 2 of Skull Island. I want to see them actually connect that more into the Monsterverse. Like, please do this. But it honestly, what Monarch did, Monarch made me really excited for the next Godzilla Kong movie coming out this year, which I forgot what it's called. I think it's just called like Godzilla X Kong, Kingdom of the Apes or whatever. I don't know, but like I'm excited for that because we get the buddy cop movie of Godzilla and Kong fighting big monkeys, and you know what? That's all I really need in my life. I just need Kong beating up some big monkeys, and I need Godzilla being there, being like, bro, I'm here, I'm here for you, champ. It's like, that's just what we need. But yeah, I highly recommend watching the show. Apple TV is one of those weird streaming services though, where it's like no one really thinks about it until they start watching something on Apple and like, oh shit, Apple's great. Apple's got some good stuff on here. And I need to go actually and watch some more stuff on Apple. I just need to go back and watch some stuff in general, as you all can tell by me talking about 2 things and then some video games. But so that's as Monarch. Go watch it, especially if you're a fan of the Monsterverse. Just go watch Monarch. It's good, and it definitely fills that gap of like the Monsterverse and seeing some big monsters and what they're doing with it. It's good. It's a good show. But yeah. So then the final thing I'm talking about on this Minty Minutes is just some video game stuff, just in general. Just, I don't really talk about video games too much on this channel because this is more of like a TV show, movie channel. But at the same time, like this is my channel. I just want to talk about stuff that I like and then, do the reaction videos for things that I haven't watched before and just kind of want to do with. And that's kind of just overall what I want to do this year for this channel. Is kind of like shift it more to just me talking about stuff I want to talk about and doing videos of stuff I want to do, and talking about more things than just like shows, and doing more things just reaction videos. Even though I love the reactions, I do love the reactions videos, especially for things that I just haven't ever watched before. Like those are all cool. But I want to talk about some video game stuff because one of my goals for this year is just to try and play some more video games, just in general, because I have been severely slacking on playing any video games. Like last year, I played like nothing at all. And so far this year, I have played like four or five video games that I had never touched before. Some being some new stuff. I've actually beaten fully 2 games already this year, which is really cool. They're short like indie games, but they were great. But yeah, I played a game at the beginning of the month, beginning of January, called Close to the Sun. It was a really cool, technically walking simulator, I think is the best way to describe it. It was a really cool, like, little mystery game, like a little mystery puzzle solver. Really, really awesome, like, Bioshock type of atmosphere to it, where you're on this this boat, with like an alternate history of like 1930s, 1940s, or whatever. And I think like 1930s, maybe 1920s, where it's like, what if Tesla and Edison's rivalry went a little further and Tesla didn't die, and he was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go build my own Rapture on a big boat in the ocean and just have a bunch of scientists or whatever just do what they want to do here, and then of course things go to hell because of course it has like some really neat like time travel stuff going on, and that's why everything went to hell, was like they were opening up some time rifts and it just went bad. It's a good game. It's a really good game, really nice short game. You can beat it in like a day if you play it enough. It's got some really cool moments to it. There's some great like world building if you look at everything. It's a cool game. It's a really nice, cool game. Only took me like maybe 2 days to beat, 2-3 days to beat. There are a couple like little annoying sections where you have to like run away from like some monsters, and like you gotta make sure those controls are tight if you're running away. Like they definitely should have slowed down the monsters a little bit in some of those scenes, but you know, it's fine. You can get through them. But yeah, it's a good game. It's a good time. It was on Game Pass, so you know, the most of these games we're going to talk about are on Game Pass, so you know, if you have Game Pass, that's a best $15 in the gaming industry right now, just to try out games. Just like, you know, play some games, try out some games, which is good. So Close to the Sun, highly recommend it. It's a good time. Voice acting is also really good in it too, but yeah, the atmosphere is very Bioshock. It's like, if you like Bioshock, it's like, yeah, there's a game for you. But then also the other game that I played, that I actually just beat, like, at the time I was recording yesterday. I just beat this yesterday. Turnip Boy Robs Bank. funny game. It's a sequel to the ever beloved Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion from a few years ago. That also took me by surprise. And the game's fun. They go from basically like a top down like Zelda like dungeon crawler type of thing to being, sorry, I dropped one, to being a roguelike, a shoot 'em up roguelike, and it's like, this is fun. But like the whole Turnip Boy franchise, I guess at this point, because there's 2 games now, the whole Turnip Boy franchise is just kind of like parodying and making fun of other games while still also being a very solid indie game. And it's great. There's some great humor in it. There's some great like tongue-in-cheek humor, some great like references to other things, like some memes for sure, to other games, to just, you know, indie games in general. It's a good time. It's a really fun time, really good time. I just 100% completed it because it doesn't take that much to 100% complete it. And luckily enough, all the accessibility features, like turning on like God mode where like you just don't take damage, and like aim assist and everything, I had to turn some of those on at the end of the game because like I just could not. I was just not fast enough. I just could not like maneuver myself fast enough to beat the final boss, which is just like a running section kind of a thing. I'm like, I just could not get it. So I'm like, you know, screw it, I'm turning on God mode. And luckily enough, it doesn't affect achievements or anything, because they're like, yep, no, we want people to enjoy this game. So if you want to turn on all the things to assist you, do it. Go ahead, have fun. I'm like, cool, I will go have fun. And I did. It was fun. It was a good game. Highly recommend playing it. Again, it's a Game Pass game, so like it'll take you maybe like a day or 2 to beat it, and it's just fun. Also got a killer soundtrack too. Man, that soundtrack is great. And it also has like a fun, like, kind of Game Boy aesthetic to it, which is even funnier. It's a good time. It's a good time. I'm actually kind of excited to see what Graffiti Games does for a sequel, if they do more Turnip Boy games, which I feel like they're going to, because why not? Like, are they gonna make like a Turnip Boy fighting game next? Are they gonna make like Turnip Boy like racing game? It's funny. It's all just like a fun time. And the last thing I was playing this month that I am gonna be playing more of, I'm not too far into it. I'm only like maybe like I don't even know, like maybe 10% into it. Not even that. Only a few hours into it. Let's be honest, only a few hours in. And I started playing Gotham Knights. It's a game that I kind of forgot about from a couple years ago that I had been wanting to play a little bit. I had heard some negative things about it because of it being like, you know, a multiplayer game, and everyone just being like, oh, we want Arkhamverse games. We want games in the Arkhamverse. And it's like, I understand Arkhamverse games are great. Like, the Batman Arkham games are some of the best games of all time, especially superhero games. Like, they're some of the best ones of all time. But like, Gotham Knights came out, and it got a little forgotten about. Yeah, people played it and they're like, yeah, this is fine, but they weren't like feeling like the multiplayer elements of it. They weren't really feeling like the live servicey looking elements of it. It's not a live service game though. It's just a full out, just straight game, but it's just with a little bit of a focus on multiplayer stuff. But you don't have to play multiplayer, and it just kind of was forgotten about. Like, people played it and then they just forgot about it. And like, I don't even think they made DLC for the game, which is wild to think about, because like, let's be honest, every game gets DLC of some sort at this point. So like, I don't think it got DLC. So it's on Game Pass. It's on Game Pass Cloud Gaming, and Cloud Gaming on Game Pass is not bad. It works. It works unless there's like a lot of people playing stuff, and it's like, ooh, okay, then it slows down to a halt, and it's like, But if someone's playing, then hey, it works. It works perfectly fine. But yeah, so I've been playing Gotham Knights. I've been playing as Batgirl, because I like Batgirl, and she's the most like Batman in the game as well, just in terms of like gameplay. Actually just unlocked her gliding ability. You don't actually have gliding at the beginning, you have to unlock it. I'm like, that's okay, progression, whatever. But it's fun. I'm having a good time with it. I'm having a real fun time with it. I can see where some of the criticism was of like the live servicey aspects of it that aren't live service, where it's like, oh, you're collecting like resources to craft weapons and like to craft your suit or whatever. It's like, oh, okay, but it's like you're not ever, at least in the moment, you're not ever running out of those resources. Like, you get plenty of those resources. Again, I'm still early in the game, so I don't know how bad it's going to get later on, but like you don't ever really feel like you're missing out on those resources. The crafting stuff does feel like it actually matters, at least a little bit, which is cool. The characters are all fun. I've only been playing as Batgirl right now. I'm going to switch to like probably Nightwing or Red Hood in a little bit, just to like play a little bit of the game with them. But Batgirl's just fun to play with. I like the voice acting. The voice acting is solid for the game. All the characters so far feel like the Bat family. They feel like the characters that they are representing. The fact that they put Tim Drake in the game, I love me some Tim Drake. He's in the game. I'll play as him at some point. But yeah, like having Batgirl, Nightwing, Jason Todd, and Tim Drake are great. Or Batgirl, Nightwing, Robin, and Red Hood, I should say, if I'm actually using their names, their costume names, is fun. But honestly, the thing that kind of like sold me the most on the game is something I just did, where I just met Harley Quinn, voiced by Carrie Walgren this time, and not Tara Strong. It did take me out a little bit, but I'm like, wait, is that Tara Strong or is that somebody else? And it is somebody else. I'm like, okay, now that I know somebody else, still sound like Harley, we're good, we're all good. But I just met Harley Quinn in the game, and there's a whole section in the game, and I'm just gonna spoil it because the game came out like 2 years ago. But there's a section where like you're getting this like book from her, and Harley, being Harley, is like, I'm just not gonna give it to you. I'm gonna let you work for it. And she like ties the book to a balloon, and the balloon just starts like floating through Blackgate. And at this whole time, Blackgate is like going to hell because like there's like a prison riot happening. The guards are all corrupt anyway, so like you can fight them too. And there's like a needle drop moment where like you don't even know what song is playing, but it's like, oh, they're about to play an actual song during this moment, and it's kind of like fun cinematic in a way. It reminded me a lot of Birds of Prey, which is like, I love that movie so much. But especially if you're playing as Batgirl, it's even better with playing as Batgirl. Or like she just kind of like rolls her eyes and like, okay, Harley, fine, I'll play your game. And you have to like run after this book that's just like floating through Blackgate, and you have to like run through this hallway, and you just like fight these prisoners and these guards, and then you run out and you run into the yard, and the yard is just full of just prisoners, guards, all fighting each other. There's like some mini bosses in there too, and then this needle drop happens of playing this punk cover of Livin' La Vida Loca. And it's like, this is fun. I just had a massive smile on my face the whole time. So I'm like, this feels fun. Like, this feels like some like Birds of Prey, like just fun time at the movies. This feels like a comic book thing that is having some fun. And it was fun. It was very fun to do that. Was able to complete the bonus objectives too. I had to work a little bit, but I was able to do the bonus objectives, and I just had a big smile on my face. I just was laughing the whole time afterwards. I'm like, this is good. So like, I'm hoping there are more parts in the game like that, because like that felt fun. And honestly, the reason why I started playing Gotham Knights is because the new Suicide Squad game came out, or for YouTube, the Unalive Alliance, off the Justice League. Thanks YouTube for censoring everything. But either way, this new Suicide Squad game came out, and I've heard a lot about it. I have heard so much about it, but I still want to play it. I want to play the Suicide Squad game because I really like the Suicide Squad. I really like it, and because it's a Rocksteady game, I understand from the things I've heard and read, it's like, this doesn't feel like a Rocksteady game because it's a live service like shooting game, and it's like, yeah, but the characters all still look great, the voice acting is all still great, the story I've heard is still great because it's a Rocksteady story, and I can get past the gameplay if it's fun. Also, I'm one of those people that actually pre-ordered Avengers and regretted that, so, you know, I didn't pre-order this one. But, you know, I still had fun with Avengers with the amount I played of it. I'd stopped playing it after a while because I'm like, this is just boring now, and I honestly should have gone back to Avengers a little bit, played the Wakanda stuff and the Winter Soldier stuff, but I mean, the game died. The game just straight up died because no one was playing it because it was just boring. But, you know, I hope Suicide Squad doesn't die because I want to see what they do with the free expansion, because they already said, like, all the post-game stuff is going to be free. So, like, I'm hoping we get to see some more of that stuff. But granted, at the end as well, it's like, everything with DC going forward with James Gunn and Peter Safran taking control of it is like all the games are going to be incorporated into the overall story of the DC universe. So, like, I can understand if this is like the rebooting, like the ending of the original Rocksteady Arkhamverse and like rebooting it into like a new version of the universe with David Corenswet as like a new Superman, and like having like a new Superman game. That'd be cool. The Wonder Woman game coming out from Monolith would make sense if that's going to be. That's the reason why we haven't really heard much about it, is like if they're like reworking it a little bit to fit it into the new DC universe with this new Wonder Woman. If they're going to cast a new Wonder Woman, which they probably are, because they've been casting new people all the time, with a few exceptions for some people, which is, you know, fair. So I am excited to see where it goes, and I want to play Suicide Squad. It to me, it still looks fun. It looks fun. I'm like, yeah, this looks like a fun time, because again, I'm the type of guy who just enjoys things and just has fun with things. So I do want to play it. But yeah, Gotham Knights is fun. Go play Gotham Knights a little bit. It's a good time. It's not the Arkham games. It has a little bit of the Arkham formula to it, but it's not the Arkham games at all. And it's a fun time. It's just a fun time. But yeah, that's the Minty Minutes. I don't really have much else to talk about at this point. And I said this is going to be a short episode. It's not. It's a long episode because I talk a bunch about Echo and Monarch and such. But yeah, it's Minty Minutes this time. Next month, next Minty Minutes is going to be a pretty fun one. I'll be watching the Percy Jackson series. I'll be watching the new Avatar series coming out. I'll be talking about those and a few other things as well during that. And, you know, if I get Suicide Squad, I'll talk about that a little bit too. But, you know, this is Minty Minutes. This is what we're here for. Just talking about some random things that I've been watching or doing. Again, I want to turn this into a little bit more of a just, you know, what have I been up to kind of thing. So I might incorporate some more video games, maybe some books in there, maybe some comic books or whatever, depending on what I'm doing, and just talking about them. So I hope you all enjoyed it as well. If you've watched Echo or Monarch, leave some comments down below. Let me know what you thought about those. And if you've also played any of the games I mentioned, Coast of the Sun, Turnip Boy, or Gotham Knights, hell, or Suicide Squad, let me know in the comments below. Keep it peaceful, keep it nice, and, you know, let me know what you thought about those down in the comments below. But until then, yeah, that's Minty Minutes. This is what we're doing. This is what we're doing here. This was episode 3 of the podcast. Hope you all enjoyed it. If you like the podcast, leave a like. It helps out. And if you want to hear more or see more from the channel that isn't this, go ahead and subscribe as well. You can see some stuff down there. On the screen will be a playlist for something else you can watch, and a video you can watch as well that YouTube recommends. And until next time, just stay liking things, people. Just enjoy the things you like, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, peace, everyone. Peace.